Well, good morning. Boy, I never expected to see so many people in an alley in Ward 7. Anyway, thank you all for coming out. I'm delighted to be here with, where's Director Bellamy? All right, come on up, Terry. And also our DDOE Director, Christophe Toulouse, who I was with on Monday at the Executive Council meeting for the Chesapeake Bay Council. This event actually marks the completion of the first of our green alleys, and we wanted people to see this because this really is the way of the future for this city and hopefully other cities. It looks a lot different than alleys typically look, and it's not just the aesthetics of it, it's also the functionality of it, which is probably even more important. I want to thank the teams from DDOT and DDOE for working together to lead this innovative program to where we are to get today, to be able to promote a more sustainable DC in concert with our sustainable DC vision plan, and the implementation plan will be out probably in 2 or 3 months. As a part of the vision for a sustainable DC, I certainly remain committed to ensuring that we continue to collaborate and explore programs such as the Green Alley pilot that will preserve the environment so that residents and future generations will be able to enjoy it. I can tell you that there are only a few other cities in the country that actually have been able to do this, and they're even working on such an approach. And I'm really proud of the collaborative effort that has led us to be able to be where we are today. I am also pleased. I want to thank the President for providing us with stimulus dollars, ARA dollars, to be able to do what we've done today, and is yet another example of how those dollars have been put to work. I also want to thank Administrator Lisa Jackson, who of course heads the Environmental Protection Agency, for her support and frankly for her engagement with efforts. She's obviously responsible for the entire nation, but I want to thank her for her efforts on behalf of the District of Columbia, the region, and certainly the Chesapeake Bay. Our federal partners have provided $973,000 in funding for us to be able to do this. This program has the potential to raise the bar with a comprehensive strategy that uses environmentally friendly solutions to improve the district's infrastructure. Our pilot, I think as I indicated to some, our pilot includes 3 alleys that are now completed. A 4th one will be constructed later this summer, and then 8 more that are in design stages now. So as this pilot moves along, we will have 12, and then we obviously will observe the results of this as we move forward. I don't think many of us would have imagined that we would have had this kind of advancement in alleys, if you will. Most alleys don't have stormwater controls, such as water quality catch basins or great inlets, and this often leads to flooding issues, as many of us obviously know. By greening our alley design and construction techniques, like by increasing water infiltration and treatment on site, we have the ability to reduce the amount of stormwater and pollutants entering the sewer system. Through this project, the existing concrete, gravel, and dirt alleys were removed here and the other ones that we've been working on, and replaced with a pervious concrete pavement. I'm sure everybody knows what pervious means, and that is it allows water to be absorbed by through the surface. Now, every time it rains, it will keep 120,000 gallons of water out of the Watts Branch watershed. For those of you who don't know, we've also received funding support for Watts Branch. We put in trash traps in order to stop the trash from coming down the Anacostia River and into the branch, and of course it's a part of Marvin Gaye Park as well, and we've made a lot of advancements as well. I think I mentioned earlier that I attended the Chesapeake Bay Executive Council meeting on Monday, and I was elected chairman of that body for the next year, and we hope to be able to demonstrate leadership with projects like this that will allow us to be able to move forward and frankly demonstrate to others in our own region what we're doing to advance sustainability. The smart, cutting-edge construction of these green alleys puts the district at the forefront of sustainable practices, not only in this region, but actually nationwide. And that is obviously where we want to be, at the forefront. Again, I want to thank DDOT and I want to thank DDOE for both of their work. And I'd like to ask each of those directors now if they would come up. Let me start with the DDOT Director, Terry Bellamy.
Good morning. And first of all, I want to thank Mayor Gray and the council for their vision and leadership on this project. I can remember like 18 months ago walking through this alley, and to watch it transform into what we have today is just remarkable. I want to thank DDOE Director Toulouse and his team for working with us on this project and helping us with the funding for the project. I can happy to say that this is a one city project. The effort goes beyond what we ever imagined that we could do in an alley in Northeast DC. Together with DDOE, we have identified and delivered various sustainable initiatives that are aimed at transforming the shores of the Anacostia rivers and the watersheds into world-class waterfronts. It's going to take a whole lot of effort, a combination of such as greening alleys to meet our goal, but at the same time, we're creating new industries and new jobs. This project is just one of those projects and one of those new technologies that you would see as we continue to roll out our green alleys. I've got to recognize the DDOT family. I have with me today our Deputy Chief Engineer, Muhammad Khalid, who is there, along with our stormwater management team with Meredith Upchurch and Reggiano. This project was designed by our local firm, Legion Design, which is a DC firm. Our construction management firm was KCI, and the contractors for this project was Fort Myers Construction and DEN United General Contractors. So again, it helped create jobs, local jobs using local industries. And this is one of the things that we want to make possible and continue to do. After last night's storm and the flooding, the water, you see that how important it is that we continue to green our communities, to be able to address those issues using the new technology. So at this time, I would like you to join and recognizing our team for the outstanding work. And again, I want to thank the mayor for continuing to pilot our Green Alley program, and we look forward to a green, sustainable community. Thank you. Christoph.
Thank you, Terry. Good morning, everybody. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Bellamy, all I have to say is we got to stop meeting like this. This is the second press conference. Many of you were probably at the last one, also in an alley. Whenever we get together with DDOT, it's got to be in a dark alley somewhere. I'm not sure. But the last time was to celebrate the installation of the last of a series of LED lights. So this will be lights that you have to replace maybe once every 15 years as opposed to once every 15 months, use a lot less energy. And along with this pervious pavement here, a perfect example of a city that is not just following along, that is setting the standard for sustainability for cities across the nation and across the world. And why is that important? It's important because those who are not sustainable, those who cannot compete, will fade away. And cities don't really fade away, but you know what I'm talking about. They become places that nobody wants to live, no one wants to invest, and that's not going to be this city. And so here we are celebrating today pervious paving. Now, why in the world will we do that? Well, this pavement, and I will just point out to you as you walk up this part of the alley, there's some of the old style surface there. And what happened after the rain last night? The water is still sitting there. You don't see it sitting here, and that's the point. When it rains, what happens? It falls on the street, it falls on the alley, it falls on the sidewalk, it falls on our roofs, and we can't get rid of it fast enough. But when that water goes, it takes everything in its path with it. Every bit of pollution, every bit of grease, and it goes out into Watts Branch, and I don't know how many of you have seen Watts Branch after a big storm, but it's not that gentle creek anymore. So all of the storm outfalls are funneling water like fire hoses. Chief Larrabee knows something about that. Into the creek, it scours all of the sediment off the banks, and it carries the pollution and the sediment, and it sits in the Anacostia. And I don't know how many of you boat in the Anacostia, but you can't go as far and you can't bring as big a boat up anymore because of all that sediment that's sitting in there. It's affecting the quality of the fish. It's affecting ultimately the quality of our life here in Washington. Why would we do that? So with this pervious paving, with the green roofs we're putting on across the city, we've got, by the way, 1.25 million square feet of green roof on tops of buildings here in Washington. You may not see it from the street. The birds love it. Soaking up the water. What we're doing is taking this gift from nature. It comes to us free of charge. And we're allowing it to hang around for a little while. Keep our trees green, keep our grass growing. And we're just behaving as a city more and more naturally all the time. This is really important. And I want to celebrate the fact that we're here in Ward 7. This is one of the most beautiful areas, some of the most beautiful communities in the entire city. And we keep coming back here for press conferences to celebrate the restoration of Watts Branch, to celebrate the fact that we have invested some of this era money that President Obama has made available to all of us to create jobs and to create good environmental performance. H.D. Woodson High School, capturing stormwater and using it to flush toilets. With our friends at Fire and Emergency Services, using water, capturing it, and using it to wash fire trucks. Think about this in your own life. Why would you pay money for perfectly good drinking water and water your tree, water your grass, wash your car with that water when this is coming to you free of charge? So if you don't have one now, get rain barrels. If you don't have a cistern, see if you can put one in. If you don't have pervious paving on your sidewalk in your driveway, come and talk to us, because we all have a hand in this. Our River Smart Homes program is extremely popular. We can't keep up with the demand because in the final analysis, everybody then contributes to the quality of our Anacostia, the quality of Rock Creek, the quality of the Potomac. At the same time, what do they get for it? Well, the same thing these people have with this alley here, a more beautiful amenity. There's nothing like trees, there's nothing like grass to improve the value of your property. There's nothing like a wonderful alley like this to improve the quality of living here. And so with that, I just want to celebrate. This is not easy. We are at the cutting edge, as the mayor mentioned, and as Terry was indicating, and I want to celebrate the team from DDOT for having the courage to go out there and do something that hasn't been done well before for the first time here in Washington. And I want to thank our team from DDOE for being so supportive. And there are so many of you here that I would throw the names out, but that would take me all day. So thank you all for coming out and joining with me in celebrating this great partnership with our Department of Transportation.
I think we're going to have a demonstration now. There may be those of you who are wondering what these buckets are about. They contain water. We got a demonstration last night, as Christoph just acknowledged, that if you look at the conventional alleys, you will find that they probably have puddles of water that have been collected as a result of last night's fairly significant rain, but you don't see any puddles of water here. So I'm going to ask our folks if they would give us a demonstration of how this works.
Feel free to take a bucket.
All right.
One, two, three.
I think as hopefully you can see, the water is being absorbed by the surface, and that's what happens when it rains, obviously. We'll be happy to take any questions on this. Mark? Oh, I thought you actually were going to have a question.
All right, I will have a question. How many alleys do you hope they have?
12. The cost at this stage is $973,000. That's what we got under ARA funds. Will there be additional dollars that will be involved?
It was $1 million for the first 4. And then
That's federal money or city money?
That was ARA money.
And what are you going to use for city money?
we'll use city money.
How much?
But we're still in the design stage, and then we go in construction. We're averaging somewhere. We're getting better. The first one cost us about $400,000. As we roll this out and the industry picks up on it, we're seeing the costs go down. So we'll have a better cost estimate once we get all the 8 designed.
One alley in every ward?
That's a good question.
What we're doing is there's a series of tests. For those who grew up in the country and you had a well and you used to do perk tests to make sure that the land could hold a well, we actually go through a series of tests to look at the soil conditions to see if it can take the pervious surfaces. And so it goes through a series of tests. We do a lot of test pits. In this alley, I would say we probably did, 12 pits at least. And then that's how we identify those alleys that it would be successful.
Mr. Bellman, what is the average cost? How do you cost out resurfacing an alley? Do you do it by the feet, what is the measurement you use?
What we by material, we go by square yards. And the way that it's done is that it all depends if it's a rebuild or just an overlay. If we have to cut out to get to the soil that we need to, then that's by cubic yard. So we use different. This is a total rebuild.
So what is the average cost now to by square yard to do an alley, as opposed to the cost to do this? How do we compare the cost?
I don't have the number at the top, but I would say that this alley is probably twice the cost of a traditional alley. But the cost benefit to it is that we now are able to deal with the stormwater that's an issue in many of our traditional alleys. In the old alleys, we did not have stormwater control in it, and that's why in some of the alleys you still see flooding of properties.
But doing a surface like this is at least twice as much.
At this point, it's twice as much, but as we do more and more of it, as the industry picks up on it, the cost goes down.
Yes.
How easy is it to repair? This water sinks in here, then it freezes. It's going to create potholes because it's going to expand. So how are you going to keep it from hitting up during the winter? Because our winters are pretty awful.
As you can tell, this is concrete. It's not asphalt. There's maintenance that we do. We'll have vacuum trucks that will come and clean the alley just like we would do a street, keep the pores open. One of the good part about this alley is that the maintenance that we will give to this alley. In the wintertime, as you all well know, is that we're using other type of treatment other than the abrasive materials to keep our roads clean.
Speaking of water and alleys, last night it really wasn't even that. There was a lot of rain, but it wasn't a ferocious rainstorm. But yeah, there was pretty bad flooding in Bloomingdale. People's basements are flooded. People are being rescued out of their cars. They say that's an area that has flooded before. Why? Why does that keep happening? And what is being done to rectify that? As you know, people living in these basement apartments and their homes are being flooded because of what appears to be poor stormwater maintenance. It's not like there's a creek or a river there. It just appears to be unable to handle the surface runoff.
What's taking place right now, as you know, DC Water is looking at the combined sewer system. As you know, as an old city, our stormwater system, in some cases, are combined. When you have a downpour like we had last night, when you get that much water at that quick of a time, the system is not going to be able to handle it. And that's what you were saying, the system was not being able to handle it. So as we continue to work with DDOE and DC Water, as we expand the stormwater system, you will start to see some improvement in there. But in any city, anywhere in the world, when you get that much rain, that fast, your traditional systems are not able. So we're working, if you look at some of the locations, there are pumps that come in to try to take the water, but it's an overall and it's a long-term project to continue to improve the stormwater system in the district.
I mean, should we be worried about moving in the basement apartments in these locations. If you're saying that was an average thunderstorm and their home flooded, should people have serious concerns about moving in the basement apartments, which are among the more affordable units in the district, if this is going to be a regular occurrence that you seem unable to rectify?
Cannot answer that question.
Let me take a shot at this. When you think about a sustainable city, one of the things that you want to think about is how can it behave in such a way that you don't get those kinds of things. Typically, these flooding events are a direct result of the way we've developed in the past. So with the deployment of millions of square feet of green roof, with the planting of more trees, the installation of more rain gardens, the putting in place of a lot more permeable features, not only in our alleys, but along our sidewalks and streets, what we do is we create the city as a much more spongy environment. And that is going to take a lot of pressure off of folks in areas that are flood prone. Terry mentioned the combined sewer overflow project that DC Water is investing a little over $1 billion in right now. That is going to have a huge impact on traditional flooding problems extending up into the Northeast. So that it's a combination of things that we need to do. And as an agency, we also work with folks who are working on properties to make sure that as a result of the development they do, we don't exacerbate these flooding problems, but mitigate them as much as we can.
Obviously, 8 alleys is not going to solve the city's stormwater problem. Is this a fun pilot project, or is it possible that this will become the norm across the city?
As part of the sustainability program, we hope that this become a part of the norm. This is just one series of materials. The industry is catching up with us. Is that we have it both in concrete and asphalt. We're taking a step back in time. This is what we used to use a long time ago, and we changed. We used to didn't have curbs and gutters. We used to have tail ditches and side ditches. So what we're actually doing is recreating what was used in the past, making it to the 21st and 22nd century technology.
All right. Again, I hope that you all have read the Sustainable DC Vision Plan. I hope you will read the implementation plan when it is completed. There are lots of people, literally hundreds of people, who worked on the vision plan and also working on the implementation plan. And I think it really will advance us quite quickly in the city and has very much put us in the forefront of what I think will be an important contribution to our own planet and our own society in the years ahead. Thank you all very much. It really is delightful to see so many of the press be out here today, interested in what we do with alleys.
Right up our alley. Well, how are you doing, Mr. Mayor?
I'm doing fine. I'm glad we've paved the way to that question. It's a pervious issue.
You want to comment on the events of yesterday?
Well, you know, I would like to comment on all of this, to be honest with you. As I've indicated along the way, this investigation is continuing. I said before that this investigation is continuing. Obviously it is. Obviously there is additional information that is unfolding. I think many of you will remember that more than a year ago, I was the one that called for an investigation of my own campaign. And, you know, we will continue to work with this investigation. But, you know, again, there are questions that you may have that I can't answer at this stage, and hopefully this will be, there will come a point soon when we can.
If you don't mind, I'll ask the question maybe you can answer without getting into whether you did something wrong or even knew about what happened during your campaign. Can you not at least comment to the voters, to the people of the city, that in a court of law yesterday, it was shown legally that your campaign had a sham aspect to it?
Well, yes, that was obviously a part of the court proceeding yesterday.
You must be angry or upset or surprised, shocked, or worried that that happened.
This is not the campaign that we intended to run, Tom. I have said to many, many people that I got into this for the right reasons. I probably could have stayed on as council chair or done nothing, you know, further. And I got out there to be involved in this because I love the District of Columbia. I'm a native Washingtonian. I'm a product of the schools of this city. I'm a product in almost every way of the District of Columbia. And not to be redundant, but I got in this for the right reasons.
Mayor, if you were someone sort of, not yourself, but just sort of looking at this from outside, what would you think? And would you think that your administration is corrupt? What would be your view?
Well, I think it's unfair to say our administration. I have distinguished between the campaign and the administration. And Sam, if there's something about our administration that you want to put your finger on, I would invite you to do that. But I think that's a very unfair characterization.
Specifically, though, talking about this situation here.
But what does that got to do with this administration in terms of a campaign versus governing?
Well, you are the mayor.
Absolutely.
All right, so if I'm sitting out here looking at this mayor, what do you think? Is the mayor corrupt? I guess the question.
Well, there are lots of people who probably will have that question. I know who I am. I get up in the morning every day and look in the mirror, and I see somebody I respect, Tom. Sam.
Mayor,
Yes.
yesterday, Dean Clark Harris pled guilty, said that, or the judge actually said that the contributions that co-conspirator number one, who everybody seems to agree is Jeffrey Thompson, handed you, the candidate, checks. Did you ever receive checks from Jeffrey Thompson? And if you did you say, where did these come from?
Well, first of all, I received checks during my campaign from a lot of people. And any check or anything that I received was turned in, to our folks to be properly recorded on our campaign finance report. I think any candidate will tell you, and I'd invite you to go ask other candidates, I don't think any candidate can say, I'm going to sit down and review with everybody every check that you give. It's just not possible, Mark. And you think about that from a campaign finance perspective, yeah, it might be desirable, but you can't do it. It's not possible.
And the second question was that Dean Clark Harris offered, volunteered to state that this plan to have straw donors and reimbursements was not the idea of co-conspirator number one, Jeffrey Thompson, but the idea of somebody else. To your knowledge, and different names are mentioned, I'm not going to mention it, was this an idea that was ever broached, ever presented to you, or do you have any idea who did initiate this plan if you had no familiarity?
No, I think that is a part of the continuing investigation, and I feel absolutely certain, Mark, that will be revealed as this investigation continues to unfold.
Have you been interviewed by the FBI?
This is why I want to indicate again, this is a continuing investigation. I want to indicate that, again, from the very beginning, if you recall, I was one of those who called for an investigation in the first place, and there have been at least 3 investigations thus far.
You must have some personal feeling for her. She's 75, she's
Yeah.
ill, and you've known her for decades.
I've known Jeannie for a very long time, and I feel very badly about this, but at the same time, I'm concerned about what may or may not have happened in this campaign, and certainly the appearance of what may have happened.
Mr. Mayor, one of your key goals have been, since you've been elected, is to advocate for safer and voting rights for the district. Being on Capitol Hill to try to get some more autonomy. Yesterday's report basically said that your campaign was corrupt, and there's a big question about the legitimacy of your election based on the facts as revealed yesterday. Do you think you are still the best position to be the chief advocate for the city and advocating for something like that? Or do you think your credibility is undermined in such a way that perhaps you should consider stepping aside?
Tim, I think that the issues that are on the table around autonomy are self-evident. There are states all over the nation that have had issues with how they operate. Nobody has proposed to withdraw anybody's statehood in America. And I think anybody who wants to address that ought to address the issues themselves. I think that there is enormous credibility to our issues around statehood, and I'd be happy to talk with anybody about that. And I'm not the only one who's advocating for that, too. There are many, many others who are.
The broader question is, can you give residents a sense of relief that you are still the best person to be in this job, given the questions that have been raised about the credibility?
Yeah, I do think so, Tim. And I think I'd invite you, as I've often invited you and others, to take a look at what this administration has done. That's why I wanted to make the distinction between the campaign, which we know there are issues with, and governing. Again, I don't want to recite our priorities, but look at public safety and where we are with public safety. Look at jobs. You know, we've brought down the jobless rate in the District of Columbia by almost 2 points in less than a year, which is phenomenal in my opinion. Look at what we're doing on economic development. We have projects that we are directly responsible for that total $2.5 billion and about $8 billion of economic development taking place in the city. On the issue of education, we continue to make improvements there. And look at the issue. We want to talk about money. Look at our, you know, we stemmed the flow of money out of our fund balance. Between $700 and $900 million would have been spent in a couple-year period from the fund balance. And not only did we stop that, but we had a $240 million surplus in the audit that was released in February. So I think the results of how the city, you know, is functioning speak for themselves.
Two more questions from someone who hasn't asked one.
How would you characterize, going back to mid-2010, how would you characterize the state of your campaign's finances? Did you feel you had enough money or that you needed more? How would you characterize the status of the finances?
Well, I actually thought we had raised a lot of money, to tell you the truth. It was a very short campaign. It was only, you know, when we officially kicked it off, it was in April, almost May of 2010 for a primary that, you know, took place in September. We started with nothing, obviously, so I really thought, from my perspective, that we had raised a substantial sum of money, you know, during that campaign.
Mr. Mayor, do you agree with the U.S. Attorney's assessment that your campaign was corrupt and that this 2010 election is neither fair nor honest?
Well, that is obviously the U.S. Attorney's position at this stage, and I think the investigation will continue at this stage. It is not over, and then we'll see where we are at that point, Patrick. I'm sorry.
It's your reputation.
I perfectly understand that, Tom.
Do you expect to finish your term?
I have no plans to do otherwise.
Thank you, everybody.
Joe Mamo, the investigation of the gas stations was supposed to be taken by the Attorney General. 77, 97 gas stations. Okay. I understand that investigation has been dropped. What do you say to people? High gas prices having to do with one person controlling almost 80% of the gas stations. And why is the Attorney General dropped that impeachment?
I'm not sure, Mark. I'll be happy to have the Attorney General address that if you like. I know the council was involved in it as well because there was legislation pending before the council, and I'm not sure what the status of that is either. But if you'd like, I'll have the Attorney General address that issue for you. Okay, thank you.